This week on the Game Informer Show, we dive into Skate Early Access. The rolling is super fun.
The rolling
it's ridiculous.
Crazy.
What is
yeah, you can essentially roll up into a ball off of your board, and you can. Eric calls it the Blanca roll.
Yeah. Shay would like it to be called the Sonic roll. I say Blanca roll. Leave your thoughts in the comments below.
Sonic Racing CrossWorlds.
Pretty good kart racers. I think Mario Kart World is a very good kart racer for what it does, and I think Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is also a very good kart racer. So it's cool that both of them have released this good product in the same year, but they also approach the genre from different angles, even if like the core experience is pretty similar.
And get into other games like Battlefield 6. We played the new 2 big maps as part of a recent preview event. We talk a bit about 2XKO, which is the League of Legends fighting game. And we dive into Herdling, which is a follow-up from the team behind Far Lone Sails. The show is about to begin, so please like the video if you're watching on YouTube, and consider heading over to GameInformer.com/subscribe and picking up a print or a digital magazine subscription. Welcome back, everybody, to the Game Informer Show, a weekly podcast covering the video game industry. Join us every week for a discussion of the latest gaming news, reviews, and exclusive reveals alongside Game Informer staff and special guests from around the industry. I'm one of your hosts today, Alex Van Aken, joined by Marcus Stewart. How you doing, Marcus?
I'm doing well. You can insert a witty remark here. I don't have one yet, but I assume you've been saving them. So just put one.
Yeah. We'll get. I've got a ton of AI tools that can implement witty remarks. It'll sound totally natural. It'll only burn 2 bottles of water for one 3-word sentence, but it'll be good.
I prefer woody remarks. As in Toy Story.
We got that tool too. Don't worry about it, man. You will sound and look like Woody, but also you will have your own corporeal form. Welcome to the show, Eric Van Allen. How you doing, Eric?
I think you described one of my nightmares. I think that's one of my terrors that has awoken me in the middle of the night. There's a snake in my boots. Yeah. You become Woody. You become a doll.
Rounding out the show this week, Brian Shea. How you doing, Brian?
Somebody's poisoned the water hole.
Somebody has. We were talking about this right before the show started.
Many people are
There's either a gas leak or poison in the water hole. We're not sure which.
Yeah, I hear that's a big thing in Minnesota right now. You guys got to figure that out.
Perfect time for me to move there.
Yes, absolutely. Well, welcome all to the Game Informer Show. At the top, I just want to say this show is brought to you by a Game Informer magazine subscription. Eric has the new one in his video. There you go.
I was ready.
If you want to support the show, head over to GameInformer.com/subscribe and consider picking up a Game Informer magazine subscription. You can get 10 issues a year, either delivered to your mailbox or delivered to you digitally. There's also lots of fun goodies that come in with the physical version with no added charge. So that's very cool. We also want to say that we have announced as of today, we aren't going to be getting into it until next week, but we have announced that The Outer Worlds 2 is going to be the next Game Informer cover story. So you can look forward to that. We're also going to have a ton of online and video content and features for you to check out. All that, GameInformer.com. Check it out. Let's get into the show proper, guys. We've been playing, there's a lot of games that are out that we're talking about. We're going to be getting into Skate Early Access, Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, Battlefield 6. I went hands-on with 2 of the biggest maps in the game, including Operation Firestorm, which is a beloved BF3 map, 2XKO, and Herdling. But let's get started. Skate. Eric, you and I played Skate. We live streamed it. That's another thing. We're now live streaming on Wednesdays and Fridays every week. But if you missed the stream on Wednesday, Eric and I played Skate. Skate 4, Skate Early Access, Skate Period.
I was going to say it's technically Skate Period, I think, which
is
a weird choice.
Yeah. But we dove into it. We played it for a few hours. I don't know if you've had a chance to play it anymore, Eric. I have not.
I've found myself wanting to go back, but I said this on the stream. and I mean this complimentarily, I promise. It's kind of a friend slop game in that it's for those who aren't aware of the lingo. Friend slop is a game that you probably aren't going to play by yourself, but maybe you're going to play with a group of your friends, and it becomes a social situation, a social medium. And I feel like Skate is really aiming for that. It has individual things that you can do that are challenges that direct you towards doing objectives or hitting different areas that they kind of give you control, but you really just kind of impress the local skate gangs and you build your influence and things like that. But it really, I kept being reminded of Trackmania in a lot of ways because of the number of people on the map at the same time and how you would just kind of follow where people were going. You'd see somebody doing a really sick line or building up a cool ramp somewhere or climbing a tower to get to this really cool spot, and you would kind of go where the people are going. And I think that's the more interesting part in this new Skate, is how freeform and open and interesting the city is. As opposed to a lot of the single player, more oriented stuff, which is as I understand, I've not played the original Skate games, but I think that's a departure for the Skate series. I know a lot of people in the chat that day were saying, oh, are there single player things? Are you building your stats up and stuff like that? It does not really seem like it. So,
no.
As Skate aficionados, like, how do y'all kind of feel about the shift in focus?
I've played every Skate game. The one I played the most is 2, actually. I know a lot of folks are in the same boat. I know Skate 3 obviously has lived on, especially like in online spaces like social media, where like there's a lot of just ridiculous stuff that people do in that game that's fun to watch. But it does feel like a bit of a departure, but it feels natural to me. It kind of feels like a natural evolution. I know when some games go from, there's obviously all of these, big companies want the next live service game that hits.
Nobody wants the next live action game.
Sorry. Everyone wants FMV.
Cowards.
Everyone's chasing FMV.
We need FMV back. It's time.
Yeah. Everyone's kind of chasing these games as service still. And it can often feel soulless, especially when it's a series that you love that's transitioning to those spaces. But I think Skate makes the transition pretty naturally. I think it does EA well, and Full Circle Studio, I think, to kind of have this entire city that is designed around skating, right? It's called San Vansterdam. So an amalgamation of different Pacific
it's like
Northwest.
If you guys named this city
van representation, baby.
Right? You guys are the co-mayors of
Alex San Vansterdam Aken and Eric San Vansterdam Allen. As we are. Those are our Christian names.
Yeah. Our given names by the skate god.
I think having this space that still feels like a city that you might stumble upon. There are still cars driving around roads, and like there is a natural flow to the city that feels. I was very quickly kind of finding myself not having to consult the map as much, kind of knowing where, at least in the first section of the game that they kind of drop you in. The city's divided into 4 sections. And the first section that you're put into, we spent a lot of time in there, climbing around, doing like parkour stuff, as well as obviously skateboarding. And you kind of like start to get a familiarity with the space that is fun and kind of feels natural. And I think had this come out in some other form as like a games of service, I think it would have felt a lot more jarring. But to me, it feels pretty natural. I like Eric said, it's honestly really invigorating to see other players doing their lines, coming up with, seeing them do tricks, I saw some folks do tricks. And I was like, oh, I want to know how to do that trick.
Oh, the lying down on the board and going flying.
Yeah, and that's kind of like a classic skate thing you can do, but I couldn't remember the button sequences. And so like figuring that out through asking folks, to be clear, texting a friend who was in our lobby. There's not voice chat to my knowledge or anything like that. But it was still like this. It feels very lively. in a really fun way. And while I think there is still a general lack of content in the sense of content's not even necessarily the right word. There's a lot of things to do. I just think like the like central motivation to continue playing the game really kind of lies on you as the player. Like, what do you want to be doing, and less so on a character. Really, kind of like there's a through line. There's like some characters who will have you do challenges and stuff, but there's not a story really or anything like that kind of propelling you through. It's just kind of like, similar to a game, other online games, or similar to like almost like a sandbox game where like the onus to progress really is on you as the player, and just purely based on your own enjoyment and fulfilling that like skateboarding fantasy.
It's probably worth noting too that this is an early access launch. Like
it is early access.
It's still very much in development, so they could certainly add stuff to it and will. For gameplay wise, I am a big Tony Hawk fan. I never really got into Skate. Like the most Skate I think I've played was like a demo of the original Skate, and I was kind of turned away because of how less arcadey it was. Like it's a lot more technical, and I always got the impression from as a onlooker that Skate was kind of the Gran Turismo of Skate games, of like, oh, it takes itself more seriously and maybe like too seriously for me. But watching you guys stream, it looked a lot sillier than maybe the impression I ever got from the Skate series. Is the gameplay still like the same level of technicality as the old ones, or have they made it a little more arcadey? Or
I was talking to Eric about this on stream, and that Skate 1, when it first came out, felt so much more radically sim-ish. Not the Sims, but simulation.
It sounded like Simlish, yeah.
Yeah, like
it sounded like Simlish, honestly. Yeah,
like real skateboarding.
Yeah, and I think at the time we didn't have any other references for that in the game space. We had, Tony Hawk for the most part, and other sports there was like Kelly Slater and stuff, but those were all very arcadey, And I think by comparison, Skate felt like such a stark contrast, and it kind of had a lot of those labels as being, more realistic, more simmy, and and for folks who aren't aware, you are really performing your tricks on the analog sticks on your controller, and so like an ollie is down on the right stick and then up on the right stick, and and so you're kind of, and there's a lot more complicated ones, and I think that naturally was like a barrier to entry for some people. It kind of really captured my attention when that mechanic first came out. I think it feels really good, but I wouldn't say these days that it necessarily feels like a sim skateboarding game. I think like there's so many other games now, like Session, Skate Sim. There's others I'm forgetting the name of, but that have really kind of dialed in the very grounded. I mean, some games are even like cutting skate tapes together, and it's all very grounded. Whereas Skate has some of those elements with its mechanics, but the world and the activities and all of that are much more, what's the right word? Surreal and kind of arcadey, I guess, right?
It's in,
for lack of a better term.
It's in a fantasy world, essentially. It's in this magical city where everybody skates. I was going to mention earlier, that's why I didn't think about it until now, but it's kind of weird that there are cars there. Like we made a city where people are going to be riding around on their skateboards all the time, but we made sure there were still cars that do not brake for pedestrians.
I think they do that so that, I imagine when the servers are emptier, it might feel a little isolating or lonely without those cars.
I think that would be cool personally, but one big playground. I do think it gives it like a real city feel having actual cars there, right?
And I imagine you can kind of grab onto the back of them and ride. I don't know. I haven't tried it.
I was sitting on the back of one of the flatbed trucks for a while, just riding it around town, using the sit emote and just kind of observing the town as it went by, and that was kind of neat. But I think this game does do a lot of really interesting stuff in that way, like you were saying, to take what would normally feel kind of simmy, kind of hardcore. You're doing all these precise stick inputs to do certain tricks and things like that, and instead it puts it against this very open, very freeform world that wants you to just find really interesting lines, find cool things. I think they give you a really good example early on with that hedge jump that you do, because it's just a couple hedges on a slight elevation, but you can see the visual language of, oh, I bet I could do a really cool looking trick off that, and the game encourages you to look for more of that. I think my biggest frustration, and the thing that I think they need to address in early access, is the ways in which the structures of monetization and free to play are actively inhibiting the fun of the skating. And by that I mean there's a lot of, there's like a pseudo loot box. I couldn't really tell what it was, but there's some sort of thing in there that's got cosmetics that you can put money into, or currency, and of course there's different kinds of currency that are accrued in different manners, and there's all that kind of stuff. You can buy an additional pack for this game that is out there as well. There's a founder's pack if you want that. And that's one thing. Set that to one side as like, okay, that's the free to play. It's that. We did this really cool section in Skate where I'd found this tower that just went straight up into the sky, higher than any other tower in Skate San Francisco or whatever. And we spent so long climbing it, and it's a really cool climb. It's a really fun puzzle. That there's a climbing ability that feels like Assassin's Creed when you're going up the sides of the basilicas in Assassin's Creed.
That was really weird to watch you guys. Like, I didn't know this game had like straight up parkour where your characters were just
it's
grabbing
cool
and climbing up things.
It's fun because you get to see yourself go further and further up, and you keep thinking as you get up there, there's going to be something cool up here. There's going to be something so sick up here. And when we get to the top, there's a fast travel point, and it says locked. Get a higher level to unlock this fast travel point. And I just felt my stomach sink into my feet.
It was like a 20-minute climb.
It was a really long climb. I did it twice because I did it once before the stream. It was like, we should do this on stream. It's sick. And then we did it on stream. And both times it was like, right, I did this whole thing. We got all the way up here. We had such a fun time trying to race each other up it and stuff like that. And you get to the top and the game is like,
you're not high enough level.
You could fast travel here again if you'd like to. Once you're high enough level, we're not going to tell you what that level is, though. Come back later, maybe. What? Who's to? Yeah,
because you had leveled up and you were thinking, oh, now we can.
Maybe now we can unlock it. No.
Yeah.
No.
Can you buy progression? Like, is there like any of that?
Not
stuff?
To my knowledge.
I couldn't see a way to do it in my end. I feel like all the stuff I saw was cosmetic. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, I understand that if it's a free-to-play game, you need to find your way to get your revenue stream to pay everybody. That is just a base level of making games and publishing them. But some of the progression stuff, I think, especially if it gets in the way of people actively wanting to explore the zones and spend time playing your game, I think it's cool to have the structured challenges if you want to go chase those. If you need something to kind of guide and signpost you along and say, here, go do this. Go do this. We have cool things here. Go do this. But then also let people just explore and get rewarded for that exploring. You know, find things and don't feel like you're approaching it in the wrong way if you go off the beaten
Not all
path.
the rewards have to tie into the microtransaction system.
Like that's something that, like, you know, the best open world games, it's like, okay, I'm going to go over there and there's going to be something cool waiting for me. And like, it sucks that like you do all that effort and you get there and it's like, come back when you don't suck, LOL.
Yeah. Gain more levels, complete more story quests. Like that's a weird thing to do in a game. At least it would normally let you just plant your flag, but then be like, oh, hey, you're like not supposed to be here yet. Like maybe go do some stuff. But we'll let you, like, you got the point. You got here. But it's weird to know that I'm going to have to eventually hit some unknown level and then go climb that tower again just to get that fast travel point.
Whereas like that would have been a great reward that's not tied to monetization. Like, just let me have this fast travel point. And that's like more of a, it's it's a game design flaw, but it does relate to the microtransactions, because the only way that you are getting rewarded in the game for completing things is you're getting points to spend in the shop or getting loot boxes, where it'd be great to have these more natural rewards, like climbing to the top of the tower and getting the fast travel point.
I just think that, weirdly enough, progression in this game, if it's going to be an open world, free explore, go do things, maybe it's being updated over time and they add kind of, it'd be cool if they did some rotations and, kind of like what Fortnite does with their map, where they change it out every once in a while and the city changes and new things pop up and new lines appear. Having any part of that be gated by a metagame progression where you have to be a certain level to access certain things, or you can get there, but it's going to be actively detrimental if you get there before the game thinks you're supposed to, that's going to get in the way of the freeform nature of Skate, of finding these cool lines, of doing these cool things, and feeling really awesome about discovering this fun way to explore the world with, this piece of board under your feet. And Or rolling, we should talk about the rolling. Yeah,
the rolling is super fun.
The rolling,
it's ridiculous.
Is crazy.
You can essentially roll up into a ball off of your board, and you can. Eric calls it the Blanca roll.
Yeah, Shay would like it to be called the Sonic roll. I say Blanca roll. Leave your thoughts in the comments below.
No, listen. Blanca does not use his roll for transportation. He uses it to attack opponents. Sonic uses it for both. He uses it to attack opponents and to get places faster.
What is an attack but transportation closer to your opponent?
That's what I was saying about when I get in a car. I'm like, this is an attack if somebody is in the wrong place at the wrong time. But it is primarily a form of transportation, which is how Sonic uses it. He goes places fast, but then he can also attack enemies using the roll.
When I'm playing Forza, I attack that pavement. I attack that asphalt. I'm on there.
Attacking that asphalt.
Skateboarders are rolling up into ball. Is this a real skateboard move? Do people do this in real life?
I've not seen Tony Hawk comport himself in this way, no.
No. So it is... rolled up in a ball, going much faster than anybody can actually skate. Like, you are going faster speeds.
It goes faster than skating. It's kind of funny, and I hope they never change it. I hope it just stays that way forever, because it rules.
Yeah. But I mean, we haven't really talked about like the actual like act of skateboarding. We've talked a lot about the world and all of that, but I think Skate and this game definitely holds on to this element of past games where the best moments, the best time, the game feels its best in like the little moments where you're just hitting a flip, hitting a grind, and landing, and it just feels crisp. The sound effects, the difference in the different. I've actually got a skateboard next to me.
Braggart.
The difference in like hitting. Yeah, I'm gonna do a trick on stream.
I think it's a snowboard.
On video.
There's no wheels.
The difference in like grinding at the top of your board versus like the middle. They've done a great job kind of capturing the various sound effects that kind of change, and there's like a really satisfying element to just like these little moments, and your reward is like, you get points, of course, and it tells you, great job, but it's also just like the satisfaction of completing this more involved trick than you would in like a Tony Hawk. And a Tony Hawk where you'd press X to kind of ollie and then X plus left to do like a flip trick, and then you land it, right? And you only really have to worry about like your rotation when you land. Whereas in Skate, you are one button, you're pushing forward on your skateboard, then you're kind of pulling back to ready yourself with the trick, flicking forward to ollie, or another combination to like do a different trick, and then hitting that grind, worrying about your balance, and like there's not like a meter or a bar that you're like, there's not a mini game. It's purely like their physics engine. You are balancing yourself on the board, and it feels really great. And also when you land, in Tony Hawk, if you land and you're kind of just center, you're kind of like 90 degrees to the ground, you're going to land the trick, right? As long as you aren't like at a weird angle. With Skate, even if you do that, if it's a really, with physics involved, if it's a really big jump, you have to actually change the angle of your board like forward and backwards
like
to make sure
Riders.
Exactly.
Exactly like Kirby Air Riders, yeah.
To make sure that your trick is kind of landing on the back wheels so that you don't, you aren't, and if you do it too much, then you'll kind of, the board will go out from underneath, that kind of thing. So it's a lot more, there are a lot more considerations in completing a line, even a simple one. But it's just so satisfying to do that, those little things.
That's something that I found myself really surprised by, and maybe the main differentiator between a Tony Hawk game and a skate game, at least for me in these specific games, is that I found so much more enjoyment in just going somewhere, setting a session marker, which I think is a really smart, useful tool, that you just drop a point that you can always zip back to, and saying, I see this really cool line where I can go down this ramp, off here, grind, hit the ground, do a trick, and it would look really cool if I nail all that. And it's all about the locomotion. It ends up being all about the getting from point A to B and just doing this very simple line compared to, like you said, some of the stuff that you might be able to do in Tony Hawk, but Tony Hawk's more of you're racking up really high scores like pinball, where the ball's going everywhere and the score is rising up and you're getting millions of points. You're like, yeah, cool. And that does satisfy a really good itch in my brain. But Skate feels like the opposite, where, do y'all remember Marble Madness? Where you have to get the marble across different stuff. That's the difference. It's pinball versus Marble Madness, where in one case, I'm trying to get this really cool high score with all the tricks and ways I know I can link the entire park together. And in Skate, it felt like I was, okay, how do I navigate this whole thing without beefing it and get like a really sick line that just feels like it connects together really well, like everything's moving. And when it is moving in motion, it just feels fluid and it feels expressive, and like you've kind of mastered these very basic levels of locomotion that create this really cool flow state. And that, I do think, works really well in this new Skate, and I think they have mostly gotten that. There's still a little bit of iffiness sometimes. Every once in a while, there's a little bit of hitching because it might be server side, or sometimes you just feel like you hit something a little bit weird and your guy just beefs it out of nowhere. But mostly, I found that the skating is very solid and enjoyable to undertake, and has a very different vibe than you would normally expect from other arcade skaters. It's really good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the early access roadmap they've kind of laid out. That each new season, which they each last about 2 months. The first season's coming out in October, then season 2 in December. But they've said that each season includes new skatable areas. Obviously, like new challenges and like events based on seasons, new like partners and cosmetics and stuff. And one thing, the soundtrack's really good. And they've said that they're going to be adding new tracks each season.
Did they do the thing and put Pearl Jam's Even Flow on it?
I haven't seen that yet, but I did see they've got McGee on there. Are You Looking Up? They've got Turnstile.
Some Turnstile on there.
Yeah, nice. They've got some good stuff, and it was so good that we demonetized our stream yesterday because I was just flicking through looking at them. That's all right though. Yeah,
Subscribe
but I know that
magazine.
Later on, and in 2026, I'm just gonna read off a couple of the things that kind of my ears perked up when I heard that they were kind of doing this. There's in season 2 in December. There's party voice chat coming, which that's actually pretty good to have. There's a replay editor. There is a replay editor that I haven't messed around with that is out right now, but I guess they're going to be like improving it in season 2 is their plan. But there's it says new co-op game mode coming in season 2.
Okay. Oh.
And then season 3 and beyond, they're talking about open world collection, more character customization slots like tattoos and that kind of thing.
That'd be good.
Player created parks, new game modes, that kind of thing, leaderboards. So like they're still certainly, and as well as like, new tricks and stuff. But I think the foundation is solid. I think there's some, we've kind of described some of our qualms with some of the progression stuff that I do think, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, will likely be ironed out in some way with this being early access. But I think if you're just looking for that skate experience, and you don't necessarily want to go play the old games, but you're on the fence about checking this one out. I do think it's worth checking out. I mean, it's free to play, so
yeah, I'm gonna check it out. I'm not a skate guy, but
yeah,
it's free.
I think I'm pretty positive on it, honestly. All things considered, it's a lot of fun, and I'm thinking about how, like, this weekend I'd love to convince some friends to sit down and just spend an evening playing skate, just doing stuff. So I dig it. I'm a fan so far, but
awesome. I've been looking forward to it for a while. I mean, it feels like we've known about this thing for so many years at this point, because they announced it super early. And then we're just like waiting. And I think they sent me like a care package like 2.5 years ago that had like a beanie and like just a t-shirt that said skate. And it's just like a shirt that I wear around the house. But like it felt like
period in it.
It did have the period, yes. Yeah. But it was like, okay, well, they must be gearing up to like release this thing. And it was like 2.5 years later, and it still was not out. And finally it's here.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what you think of it, Brian. I think I'll be jamming on this. I think as updates come out, I'm certainly going to keep playing this. In the coming weeks for the
skate
base.
series has kind of I've bounced off it, similar to, I think it was Marcus that said it, where it was like I obsessed over the Tony Hawk franchise for a lot of like the late 90s and early 2000s, as a lot of people did. So when I saw that like EA was putting out a skating franchise, I gave like the first couple a shot, and I was like, this is not quite like the arcade style action that I enjoy about the Tony Hawk franchise. So I always kind of like bought the games, or like found like a used copy of them and then played them for like an hour, and I was like, nope, maybe not for me. So I would like to try this, because it seems like they took a lot of lessons for like modern game design conventions and like the directions they want to go, and kind of forged a unique identity for this particular game. So maybe it's worth giving a shot.
Yeah. My last warning, heed these words. Do not climb the big tower until you get a pop-up that says you can unlock fast travel points now. Because unless you really just want to see the sights, but
can you do a leap of faith off the tower?
You actually you actually can. And there are actually, I don't know if you saw this, Eric, there are different moves that you can do when you're falling in the air. And I did like a Superman dive. You could also do spread your wings out and just like, but at the end of the day, you're falling to your death. And it's
now you're deaf. Like,
can you die?
You are immortal. You're an immortal being.
Yeah.
You
just kind of pop back up. Yeah.
This is a different game than I was expecting. There's parkour. There's Assassin's Creed climbing. There's apparently immortality.
Yeah, just wait till you get to the God of War sections.
Yeah,
so it's like Astrobot. It's just different games.
I thought the visual novel portion was a little strange, but I think it really propelled the story forward.
Yeah, the horror mission actually is like really a highlight this year in campaign.
Paid homage to Metal Gear Solid as well. It was really cool.
Yeah. Brian, keeping the sports games train moving, you've been checking out what is probably one of the most beloved sports, Sonic Racing, specifically Sonic Racing CrossWorlds.
I watch it on ESPN every weekend.
Is this the Game Awards where we're lumping sports and racing into the same category?
Yeah, let's put Sim in there too. Yeah, we're putting Sim in there.
I can't wait for the Netflix documentary that's really going to get me hooked on Sonic Racing.
Yeah, I love the Bill Simmons.
Drive to Survive, the Sonic Racing episodes,
Yeah.
I mean, don't they have like some collaborations with like actual racing leagues? I thought they had like a Sonic Racing CrossWorlds car in one of the real world leagues.
Some friends and I were talking about this recently, that I think Danica Patrick was in a previous Sonic Racing game, and
yes,
that's a real crazy pull when you talk about the crossover characters, because in CrossWorlds you have SpongeBob and things like that, but you don't have Danica Patrick in there. Where's Max Verstappen in Sonic CrossWorlds?
It's almost like multiverses.
Put Ricky Bobby in Sonic CrossWorlds.
Yeah, put Ricky Bobby.
Like LeBron James being in Multiverses was also kind of one of those weird ones, but like Danica Patrick being in one of the previous, I think it was Racing Transformed. But
yes,
that's wild.
Yeah.
But speaking of Racing Transformed, this is probably the best Sonic racing game since that game, which, a lot of people really love. Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, I think it's called.
It's a long
full title. It is. And I know it was like Sega Racing, or I don't know, Sonic and Sega Racing originally, but Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, I think they have created kind of like the pull quote from my review is it's the most well-rounded kart racer of 2025, which is saying something, seeing as how we got a Mario Kart game and a Garfield Kart game this year. I've not played.
That was very polite of you to include Garfield in that.
Yes, I honestly, full disclosure, I have not played Garfield Kart, so maybe I'm assuming that it's better than Garfield Kart. But yeah, so it's like, it's like unlike Mario Kart World, there's no like open world area that you can explore in CrossWorlds. There's no there's no like real battle mode. There are some like side modes that you can do, like some kind of like party style competitions, but like the meat of this game is just like the straightforward races that like I think there's 24 courses, and then in the middle of it, like the second lap of every race is a CrossWorlds lap. So you do your first lap on like the regular track, and then the person in the pole position chooses between two courses. Like rings pop up in like at the end of the first lap, and they choose what track you want to go to next, and it pulls from a list of like 15 CrossWorlds that you can go to, almost like Ratchet and Clank style. So like whoever the person in first chooses, the entire second lap takes place on that course. So it teleports you to the second course where you do the second lap, and then these are like fully fledged courses too. It's not just like, oh, this is like bare bones and like nothing really going on. It's like, no, these are actually probably more involved than like the standard tracks. So like there's one that you go and there's like actual like dinosaurs running around, like
that's my favorite
dodge
one.
them. There's like one that's like, there's water and like there's like a bunch of like ships and everything that you have to like drive through.
There's like a Candyland kind of style one.
I mean, there's a lot of different ones. There's one that almost reminds me of like Rainbow Road, actually.
Are any of these based on Sega games, or are they just for this game?
So that's the thing, is like when you look at like Mario Kart, like most of those levels are based on something at least like adjacent to a real world Mario like level. This, I would say it's maybe 60% based on Sonic stuff. So there is like the rooftop run from Sonic Unleashed has a level, and like you're going through, I forget what the Greek name. It's like Apopatos or something like
Socrates.
Socrates, that's it.
Apopatos, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it does play like that, and then there's various other levels that are like from Sonic games, but like
there's a cool one from like Sonic Adventure with the whale. That jumps up.
There's Radical Highway from Sonic Adventure 2. So like yeah, there are some that are from Sonic levels, but I think a lot of them are just kind of like, hey, this would be a cool kart racing level. And that's the same as like the power-ups. Like there's some where it's like the Wisps from Sonic Colors, and like they give you like the boost and some other abilities and like attacks that you can perform. But then there's others that's like, oh, this has like nothing to do with a Sonic game. It's just something that they created for Sonic Racing CrossWorlds or a past Sonic racing game. So like I would have preferred, like there's plenty of power-ups that Sonic has had in the past. So it's like, why do we have to kind of outsource them? But I understand, like there's certain archetypes that they wanted to have for these power-ups and for these levels. So it makes sense in that regard that it wouldn't be like strictly tied to Sonic lore. But yeah, like the racing is super sound. The levels are extremely creative. And it just feels like a very streamlined kart racing experience. And there's also like a rival system when you play like the Grand Prix, or if you go to Race Park, which is like kind of like the more special condition races. Like there's one where it's like, yeah, you get points for finishing first, but also it's like team based. And it's like the team that collected the most rings over the course of the race also gets like bonus points for their ranking. Or like there's one where it's like if you run into your teammate while you're racing, you get a speed boost. So it like makes sense to kind of stay grouped up because you can just like play off each other with like boosts. But yeah, like the Grand Prix, they'll have like a rival that you are designated to actually beat. And that ends up being like kind of like an alternate objective to just finishing first. Although the rival typically is like the one that's going to be leading the pack. So it ends up just being like, all right, get in first. But the weird thing about the Grand Prix is that the final one, so it's 4 races of 3-lap race, four 3-lap races. But the finale of each Grand Prix is just like it's just one lap of each of the preceding courses. So it's not like a track on its own. It's like, okay, you played these 3 courses already in this Grand Prix. Now you just do one lap of each of those courses for the finale. Yeah. So it's kind of a strange thing.
Not changed in any way. It's just here it is.
I mean, there are fewer collectibles because like each track has like the red rings from the Sonic franchise that you can collect, but like it doesn't really. It removes them for that Grand Prix finale. But no, they're not like it might be like because in the final lap sometimes like the tracks are a little bit more chaotic. So I think it's just like the final lap variant of that. So like there's more going on, but it's not really like anything you haven't seen before, which is a bit of a disappointment. But it's also kind of cool to be like, okay, yeah, I remember all of these tracks that we just raced through, and now it's like a tour.
I didn't mind it as much when I was capturing for the review. It was kind of like a chance to kind of, almost that like, okay, we've been racing on these tracks. Let's put your knowledge to the test. Obviously, 20, 30 hours in, you aren't going to really, that knowledge test is kind of null and void because you've probably memorized the tracks at that point. But as somebody who's just jumping in and was like, oh, okay, yeah, I think I remember like my strategy and like what my moves were. Did it work out or not? Let me try to, get ahead.
Yeah, and that's the thing though, is that like the Mario Kart franchise and kart racing are so synonymous with one another that I always try whenever I'm reviewing a game to not do too much comparison. But it's like Mario Kart is such like the standard for kart racing that it's impossible not to like at least make a little bit of a comparison. And
especially when it came out this year. It's still top of everyone's mind. Yeah.
Came out 3 months ago. So like it's difficult to avoid that, but at the same time it's like I wanted to like judge it on its own merits, but then you look over the fence at Mario Kart World and you're like, oh well, like they were able to do a different course for every entry in the Grand Prix. So it's I don't know, it gives it a different flavor, but it's also like, it would have been nice to have like another track here.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I like speaking of like that comparison to Mario Kart World, I think I like the general experience of Mario Kart more, like the actual like racing mechanics. It feels more polished to me than Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, but I can't deny that the amount of content in CrossWorlds is there's so much more there going on, and like in terms of like modes and the customization of the machines that you're riding on. I think that's a cool piece, and I like that what do you call it? What is it called? The gadget system?
Yeah. So that's
cool.
So there's aesthetic and like cosmetic customization where it's like, all right, you've unlocked these carts. You can swap out like the different body parts. You can apply different paint jobs. You can apply different auras that like, like, all right, well, I want this red glow to be all around my cart.
Wait, you can aura farm in this game?
Yes, you aura farm. But that stuff, like, you can go too far with that pretty quickly. And there are many sponsored decals as well. So, like, if you want to add, like, your favorite ramen brand to the side of your car, you can do that. There are a lot of those. But, like, the stuff that I mostly did was the gadgets, which are, like, basically, like, these, like, granular customizations. So every character is sorted into these different classes. So, like, speed, acceleration, handling, boost, and power. Those are the 5 classes. And like speed is just all right. You have the highest top speed out of anyone. Handling is exactly what it sounds like. You can go around corners a little bit more precise, and like it's a little bit tighter to go around. Boost is kind of like the extreme gears from Sonic Riders. If you ever played that game, it's like the hoverboards, and those are back, which is kind of cool. But I would say it's the most technical of the classes because it's all about like maximizing your boosts because your boosts are really great. So like your boost seems to charge a lot faster when you're drifting, but also if you get like a boost, it's a lot more effective. And then power, you can kind of like ram into other racers while you're racing, and it will cause them to kind of either be bullied or actually just lose rings while you hit them. And what was the other one that I didn't touch on? Handling, power, speed, boost,
acceleration.
So yeah, that's simple. It's just you get up to speed faster. So all of the characters fit into one of those 5, and all the carts fit into one of those 5. So you can mix and match. So if you want like to do Sonic as he's a speed character natively, but if you want to give him like a power cart, you can do that, and it'll adjust his stats accordingly. And if you really want to get granular with like your playstyle, you can also make this gadget plate, which is this customizable like loadout essentially. So the one that I have that I use all the time is in each gadget that you put on this plate takes up a different amount of space on the plate. It's almost like a Resident Evil inventory where it's like you have to like fit it in the way that like it's much less complicated than a Resident Evil inventory. But like, there's like 6 slots, I think, on like a fully upgraded plate, and you upgrade it by completing laps using the gadget plate. And so like I wanted one that's like, I want to have it so I can hold 3 items instead of just 2 when I'm racing. And so that took up 2 slots on the gadget plate. And then there's one that's like, I want more defensive items to show up in my racing. So that took up 1 spot. And then it's like, all right, well, if I fall off the track and I have to be put back on the track, that like kills my momentum. Here's this gadget that I can install that gives me an automatic boost when I land from being like falling off the track. So it helps me recover faster. That takes up 1 spot. So it's like kind of like figuring out how you want to tune your character and like what perks you want to give your character. So there is a lot of customization you can do that is not only cosmetic, but also like it impacts your performance as well.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot more single player meat on the bone here than what I would have expected, because Mario Kart World, again, to draw comparisons, there was stuff to do in that game in terms of finding challenges and things like that in the open world, but when you pick your cart in Mario Kart World, you're not going in and giving it RPG stats. You're not changing its inventory. It has kind of a set, stat line, and that's what you roll with. So it's interesting to hear this described this way. That seems like there's a lot more to do on that end, especially if you're a single player. But does that, do you think that might make it a little bit unapproachable for a multiplayer situation when somebody just says, I want to play Tails. I just want to race as Tails. Is it still easy to just pick up and go?
Yeah, there's pre-loadouts. Like there are like ones that they've done that are just like, all right, well, here's a plate. You can just choose that, and like you can just choose from like 1 perk. The extra slots open up once you level up the thing. So if you just want to jump in with a friend, you can do that. And there's also like carts or machines, I think they're called, in this, where it's like, yeah, there's these 3 stock ones that you can choose from, similar to Mario Kart. So I think that it's more, it's as approachable in that regard, and maybe even more approachable because you don't have like the open world element to consider. Yeah. I think it's interesting because in my review, I called out that there's not as much meat on the bone in Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, but that's only because there's no like story mode, there's no open world mode. But somebody asked me about this, like, what content are you even referring to in Mario Kart World? Because, the open world doesn't have like very compelling challenges. And I'm like, well, I still think that, regardless of if you like the open world, it's still content. It just may not be compelling content. So that's where I think Racing CrossWorlds excels, is that it has a higher concentration of compelling content.
Sure.
Whereas, Mario Kart World, I can jump in and explore that open world for hours on end and never even do like an actual formal race. Now, would I want to do that? That's another question. I much rather jump into like the I even forget what the battle royale mode is called.
Knockout
mode, knockout tour mode. I would much rather do that, but at the same time, if I wanted to jump in and mess around with friends in like the open world, and I wanted to get like a party of 12 to just roam around and like be goofballs in the open world, you don't have that option in Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. But there is like it's much more focused of an experience. So it's nice that like we have these 2 pretty good kart racers. I think Mario Kart World is a very good kart racer for what it does, and I think Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is also a very good kart racer. So it's cool that both of them have released this good product in the same year, but they also approach the genre from different angles, even if like the core experience is pretty similar.
Yeah, one thing that I explicitly don't like is in the carts that you can unlock. with your tickets that you get from racing, at the very end is a really cool cart. It's like a dragon, and the model is like it's in the game, but it says coming in November, and it's like it's in the game though. It's right there. Just like
why would you show it to me if I can't have it?
Yeah, it's in the menu. It's got its own it's in the UI. I can rotate it around and see how cool it is. Is this like the tower and
skate again?
I can spin. I can rotate the object in my mind. I can comprehend it in a 3D space. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, they're doing seasonal content, so that's probably why. But why would they show that to you?
Why? It's in the game now.
It's supposed to maybe keep you playing. Of like, oh man, that looks cool. Better, stick around for that.
Keep playing until November.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess if people didn't have social media and they weren't following the game.
Yeah.
This would be a way for them to see that there's more stuff coming, I guess.
Gotta keep the kids hooked.
I was like, just let me. If you already put it in the game, let me race with this damn vehicle.
Yeah. Also,
look at this dragon, Timmy. You can race that dragon in November.
Pride missed opportunity to not just have that cart be Kiryu with wheels on him.
Huh?
Because it's a dragon. You just want to ride a dragon.
Oh.
Like it's Ichiban riding on top of Kiryu. That would be fantastic.
Where are the wheels on Kiryu's body in this scenario?
Maybe he's like Axel from Twisted Metal.
Yeah, he's got his arms out, or maybe he's kind of bent over and he's got a wheel in each hand and then wheels on his
This
feet.
is a real pants on the dog
It's
situation.
like Michael Jackson in Moonwalker when he turns into a motorcycle at one point.
Yeah, or when the two Shivas in Final Fantasy 13 become the motorcycle. So then we have Ichiban and Kiryu kind of slam together and turn into a motorcycle. And you ride on top
Yakuza is a weird game or series in general. They could get away with it.
I think this is the first time this idea has ever been floated, is Sonic riding on top of a motorcycle made out of Kiryu and Ichiban. Congratulations on having a completely original thought on this podcast.
You said Axel, but talking about a different Axel. I'm talking about Crazy Taxi Axel. Why is Crazy Taxi not in a racing game?
That's a good point.
So true.
I thought they're too busy working,
Yeah, it seems like
Uber
you would have
Lyft came into the city and taxi drivers.
I do Crazy Taxi about Uber and Lyft would go kind of crazy,
Yeah. What'd be funny is if they add the fake Axel from Infinite Wealth. Like they put that guy in the game, but not actual Axel.
Axl Rose.
I was thinking that too. I was like Axl Rose, and then November Dragon, November Rain. Connect the dots, people. It's been there.
Yeah, it's been there the whole time.
Yeah, he's the new Danica Patrick.
Yeah,
everybody's saying that about Axl Rose. He's the new Danica Patrick.
Finally,
just one more piece of evidence.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, Sonic Racing is out the 25th. Is that right, Shay?
That's correct.
Cool. So look forward to that. You can go check out our review on GameInformer.com or watch our video review on YouTube.com/GameInformer. You should definitely go watch that because the reason I'm yawning is because I was up late editing that video. So go watch it. And you can also see gameplay, everything we're talking about. Well, let's get into really quick. I wanted to dive into Battlefield 6 again. We talked about it a few weeks back. When the open beta was happening, I was invited to a preview event, a virtual preview event, and the whole point was to show us Battlefield 6's two biggest maps. And that is a new map called Myrick Valley, which is the biggest map in the game. And then Operation Firestorm, which is a level that takes place in an oil field. If you played Battlefield 3, you probably remember it. Or if you look up screenshots, you're like, yes, I remember that one. A lot of folks like that one for its kind of... It's like classic Battlefield where there's all-out warfare with vehicles. There's jets flying over top of you. There's attack helicopters. There's various... There's like two or three different kinds of tanks. You've got, smaller rovers with turrets on them. There's a lot going on, as well as your typical infantry level, combat that's happening alongside all of that. And Myrick Valley is also the same. It's got that all-out Battlefield experience, and playing these two maps has just kind of skyrocketed my excitement for Battlefield 6. I think one of my criticisms coming out of the open beta was that it feels great to play Battlefield 6. It just doesn't always feel like Battlefield. It feels like Call of Duty, especially in like the infantry only maps. And of course, like that is like, they are going to try to take Call of Duty's lunch this year, and signs are pointing to the fact that maybe they will.
They could,
at least right now.
I mean, the reception on social media and YouTube and everything has been like absurdly good for Battlefield 6 so far.
Yes.
Yeah, it feels the most hype that series has had in a while.
Oh, for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Especially after like the last one, which had
2042.
2042 set a pretty low bar to clear, if I'm being honest. And
there were some good maps in that one.
I like Big Tornado with wingsuit was pretty sick. Like when it
would happen though. When it happened,
I will never forget. Maybe the funniest stream I've ever done here was me and former editor Dan Tack playing that game when it came out, and I was there with you. Were you there? Okay, I was like, I titled
in that stream.
I titled the stream. I think like we're gonna be fighting or dodging tornadoes in Battlefield 2042, and we played for over an hour and didn't see a single tornado.
I swear we played 2 hours. We didn't see a single tornado.
That makes it more ridiculous, but we're just like, we're gonna do cool tornado stuff like they've been showing. Not a single.
We were on tornado watch. We'd be like, oh, is there a tornado forming in the background?
And then it would just be getting shot and Dan making fun of me as I crawled trying to ask for help.
Like that's the thing is, I play Battlefield for 50% the big strategy, having the feeling of we're kind of pushing across a map, we're moving lines. There's a feeling of, even if you yourself are not, putting up huge kill numbers and all that, you're kind of fighting as part of the unit and working together and things like that. And the other 50% is raw spectacle, just the craziest, dumbest things. And I did have a moment where I thought Battlefield 6 might have it when we were playing the open beta, a dude get in a helicopter, take off, and immediately just rainbow arc that thing into the ground, just completely slam that thing into
that's live footage of me using anything that leaves the ground in Battlefield.
That to me is that's beautiful. That's Battlefield happening in motion in front of you. That's poetry. And
listen, if you're playing on mouse and keyboard and you're going to get into a helicopter, remove your hand from the mouse. Left hand goes on WASD. Right hand goes on your arrow keys. You will have a much easier time flying a helicopter that way.
Do you have tips for controller people like me?
No, just get good, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay. I fly jet with mouse and keyboard, and I use the mouse to control pitch and yaw because I'm crazy.
A sicko.
Like but that's how I learned to play on Battlefield 2, so that's how I've always played it since. But I am interested. So it's a larger map. Did you feel like the vehicle counts and there was a lot more involvement there with it? Because the stuff that we played in the open beta definitely had some stuff. There were APCs, occasionally tanks and jets and things like that, but I felt like it was still a very infantry focused game.
No, it was like it felt like the battles were fought and won by vehicles. Okay. Like there was obviously infantry was important, like especially engineers having anti-tank, having people repairing your engines. But like the tides shifted whenever a vehicle would enter the battle. But there was, I want to say, like so they're all, if you play Battlefield, you know that like all the vehicles are on cooldown timers. And when you look at the spawn screen, you can spawn on your teammate, you can spawn on points that you control, you can spawn at your HQ, which is like all the way back at the start of the match where you started. And at the HQ is also where your vehicles spawn in. Mm-hmm. And I want to say there were, at any given moment, there were like 10 vehicles, like at some variation on cooldown, 10 to 12 vehicles. And it felt like there was always like, new vehicles entering the battlefield. And it felt amazing, honestly. Like when I was playing this event, it was firing on all cylinders. I remember one, there's a lot of cool new mechanics that are at play that we've talked about, like being able to like drag people as you're reviving them, like dragging. I had like so many cinematic moments where like we're pinned down by snipers and like my guy runs out, gets knocked, and I'm like, I'm gonna get you up. and dragging him back behind.
Together.
Yeah, exactly.
No one left behind. Ryan moment.
Yeah, and like that was happening. There were, just like all of the vehicles were like, just it felt so good. Like me and my crew, I was playing with some of the GameSpot folks, Jean-Luc. We kind of like hit each other up. We're like, oh, we're both in this preview event. Let's get some people and get a squad going. And like we were like either doing 2 and 2 in 2 tanks and like kind of like going around points from like 2 directions together, or at certain times we were all in a helicopter together. Like it was just like the antics were like cranked to 11, but everything felt fair and like that we were in control of our destiny. People were playing their roles correctly. I remember I got downed. There's this one moment that I was like, oh my God, like this is incredible, is when I get downed in Merc Valley, which that map is 2 large construction sites surrounded by kind of mountains, like hills, and like it's very much an in development place, but a lot of the combat happens in and just outside of those big, it's almost like they're building like big, not necessarily skyscrapers, but very large industrial buildings, but it's all in development. So it's like this big construction site. Anyways, I get downed. One of my teammates, I think it was either Snowbike Mike from Kind of Funny, or I think Jake Lucky was on my team, who's like a streamer guy. But one of them, I can't remember which one of them, got me up, and I had been paying it forward. Let me tell you, I had been, anytime people were down, I was playing medic. I was like, doom, get you up. You're back in the game. I was feeling like, my team loves me. I was getting like folks like, waving their gun at me, like to say thank you and stuff.
Give them +2s in the chat. Yeah.
Is that how you like people?
Jay Uso yeet? Like a
like I don't know, just like wiggling your character.
That's the little salute. That's just a little army.
Okay. Yeah. Or like the double crouch really quick to say like thanks.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's what that means, but
they were doing it on your dead body though, which is weird.
Yeah. But eventually I switched to recon, and I was sniping, and I was just like, this is like one of my best games I've ever played at Battlefield. And I was like, oh my God, I'm capturing all of this. This is great. And there's one moment, and I'll have to find it in the footage, where I get downed, somebody comes and revives me. And like they aren't a medic, so they're like they're like slow reviving me and dragging me away as a guy is running at us, like firing at us. And I'm like, oh, we're both dead. But like, I'm gonna, I see what's happening. I'm gonna try to fight. My teammate pulls me up. They get down. As soon as my gun comes up, I scope in and one-shot the guy, and like he falls to the ground, and then I get my teammate back up and we keep moving. But it was the most cinematic thing ever. I was like, oh my God, we're dead. And then I get up, boom, save us. Then we get back up together and we keep moving, But it was just like, there's so many cool moments like that.
It was call an ambulance, but not for me. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But both these maps, kind of going back to my original point, it has felt, it hasn't necessarily felt like Battlefield. There's some bigger maps that were in the open beta. There's one bigger map, which is like the snowy mountain area that like kind of felt like more traditional Battlefield. But a lot of the other ones were kind of like a weird mixture between like Call of Duty and still Battlefield, but like it just didn't have that feel. Both of these maps have that Battlefield identity in them, like fully. And I think that gave me the confidence and like, okay, the infantry only maps, I can tolerate those if I'm going to be playing a lot on these bigger maps. And I imagine they're going to have playlists and everything. I imagine they'll have like infantry only playlists and like all out war playlists and that kind of thing. And it feels good to know that like, as they are kind of setting their sights on the broader market, they aren't forgetting the people who have been with the series for a while, and like that, those experiences that people are expecting, they're still there. You just have to like go to the right places to look for them. But those maps felt substantial. They felt like, every match felt different, and I feel like there were so many points on those maps. We were playing various game modes. There's a new one called Escalation, where whoever has the majority of the points, of the control points, once you have that majority, then a ticker starts going up, and eventually the longer you're holding a territory, like that territory will just permanently become yours for the rest of the match, and then the number of points that you're fighting over dwindle, but you are still fighting for that majority. It's a cool mode, and I forget where I was going with that, but there's that. There's, we are predominantly playing Breakthrough, which is my favorite mode. It's where there's an attack and defending team. The defenders have unlimited lives, and the attackers start with, like, I think 200 lives that they share with each other. And the attackers are just like trying to capture A and B and have them held at the same time. And then you move forward to the next.
You push the line with each
you're pushing
successive capture. Yeah.
Yes, you're pushing the line forward. And in those moments, really in all the game modes on these two maps, like there are places I just didn't have time to explore really and fight at, because I was really focused on, like, okay, I feel like I've got this point down. I'm gonna, like, help my team here. So, like, it still feels like, even after playing for hours on these maps, that there's still a lot to learn and kind of master. And yeah, I'm really positive on Battlefield 6. I'm really excited for the game.
I'm so excited for this game. I did not play any of, like, the betas or whatever, but, like, all the footage I've seen has looked incredible. And, like, I skipped 2042 because I heard such terrible things about the launch. I know they did make some improvements, like, throughout its life cycle. Yeah, it was just
riddled with bugs.
Yeah, they added more tornadoes.
Yeah. But, like, yeah, I enjoyed, like, the old school Battlefield games. Like, Battlefield 3 was great. I loved Battlefield 2 back in the day. So it'd be really nice to get back into it. And, like, Battlefield 1 was fine. I don't know. Didn't really
I enjoyed it for
me, but, like, it was a perfectly fine entry in the series. But, like, yeah. This seems like the one that I'm going to, like, give an earnest attempt at getting back into the Battlefield franchise.
Yeah. I want to play that. I know I'm wrong for this, but I'm interested in the campaign. I'm that guy.
No, yeah. I think Battlefield 3's campaign was phenomenal, from what I remember.
The last one I played was Herdling.
That's the one Battlefield I haven't played.
Was interesting as a way to put that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was set in Florida, so I got that out of it. There's, like, a whole point. There's, like, a whole sequence where you do a shootout during a hurricane, and I'm like, yep, just like home.
Bad Company slaps.
I love the Bad Company games. Those are my. I'm not the biggest Battlefield guys, but I love the Bad Company games.
Yeah. I'm hopeful, obviously, like, they are putting all their chips on the table with Battlefield. They've got like almost 10 studios working on Battlefield at this point.
Something like that. Yeah, I think
all under the guise of Battlefield Studios.
Yeah.
So I hope it does well for them for the studio's sake, but also as a fan, I would like to see Battlefield kind of back in its prime again. Yeah. It stinks, going, 4 or 5 years in between entries, and
especially when you look at what Call of Duty is doing every year.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily need it to be annual, but, like, more frequent would be nice, because I really enjoy Battlefield. So fingers crossed. We don't have much longer, less than a month now.
Yeah,
I believe. So yeah, but that's Battlefield 6. Eric, I want to toss it to you, and Marcus and Brian. You'll probably have to, help carry this conversation, because I'm not a fighting game guy, even though I really want to be. But I'm just so bad at them. But 2XKO is out in beta. It's, like, in perpetual beta, kind of like how they launched Valorant.
Yes.
Like, it's just going to be, you can play it, and then eventually there will be a launch at some point. But, like, it is kind of out and playable. Not all the content is necessarily there yet. But
is it an open beta or?
So for those at home, let's set the stage here. 2XKO is the League of Legends fighting game made by Riot Games. Unlike Valorant and some other stuff that I think they had maybe talked about at some point, this is entirely set within the League of Legends universe using League of Legends characters. It does seem like they're responding to the popularity of Arcane a little bit by getting a lot of Arcane characters in there early. So Jinx, Vi, Echo are all in there. It is... It like Van Aken said, it's in a Valorant style closed beta that you opt into, and there are kind of rolling invites and you might even be able to get some drops from people that are streaming it or something. But also, if you were in any of the previous alphas that have existed for this game, you are in the closed beta already. They just opened it up to everybody who has already play tested or previewed this game in some manner. So it is... I mean, we were talking earlier about Skate and how long that's been in development. 2XKO has been in development for ages. I've worked at several games websites over the course of 2XKO's development life cycle, and it is largely made by a lot of fighting game people, a lot of people involved in the scene, involved in the fighting game development scene. Most well known is probably the folks behind Rising Thunder, which was a very approachable fighting game that was all about trying to take the concepts of a fighting game, your basic Street Fighter style game, and make them easier for people to understand and grasp. Because you take a fighting game anywhere, and the first thing people start to say is, well, I can't do fireballs, and I can't do dragon punch motions, and things like that. And that's totally fair. And so a lot of this game is based around the idea of it is a 2-on-2 tag fighter in which you pick two characters. You have one that's out and fighting on the screen, Street Fighter style, and then you have one that's your back character that can come in for assists and can also tag out. And there's kind of your basic attack buttons, you have an assist button, and then you have special buttons. So much like Super Smash Bros. Or honestly, a lot of fighting games have been doing this recently. I think Grand Blue Fantasy Versus did this as well, having a dedicated special button. Persona kind of did this with having normal attacks and then having Persona attacks. You have the ability to, instead of having to do dragon punch motions or quarter circle forward, quarter circle back type stuff, you just do some input of a direction and special, and that is how you access some of your special abilities, like your fireballs, your projectiles, your special moves. And I think in that respect, it's a really solid, interesting game to get involved with if you want to learn how fighting games work, because the current batch of fighters in there. So one of the big critiques of 2XKO right now is that the roster is not very big, especially for a 2-on-2 fighter. I think it is 10 or 11 characters at the moment, which when you start to do the math of how that shrinks down, it's not a huge roster compared to other games.
How big it's going to be?
It's going to grow. It's just going to keep going because it's a live service game. It
like
is,
League of Legends.
Like League of Legends. Yeah, there's not really a theoretical endpoint as far as anyone can tell. Until they run out of League characters, you know.
Also, you mentioned Rising Thunder. That is a game that I previewed, I think, for Game Informer my first year at Game Informer.
Let's go.
Like I met with Seth Killian at, I want to say it was PAX West that year, or it may have been E3. And like he walked me through, I'm like, wow, this is really approachable. And then that game never came out because Riot acquired the team basically, and they started work on 2XKO, which I have also played preview events for 2XKO. I played it at Riot's campus in Santa Monica, and it has a lot of that same DNA.
Yeah, and I think the roster that's in there right now is kind of interesting. There's a good mix of different, what you would call archetypes within fighting games. You have your zoners, so like Jinx is kind of a zoner / trap character who wants to kind of set up all these different gadgets and tools and keep you controlled from a distance. Whereas you have Blitzcrank, who's the newest character. He's a grappler. He's got the Zangief lariat that he just walks you down with, and he's got if you've played Blitzcrank in League of Legends, you know he's got the hook and then the uppercut into the air, and he can do that in 2XKO as well. He's got a move that grabs you and pulls you closer, and then he can uppercut you to do a launcher and then put you into a combo. Ari is kind of a mid-range, a little bit rush down, but also just kind of like tricky, being able to do all these sorts of air combos with her spirit dashes and setups with her spirit flares. They all feel very similar to their League of Legends counterparts. I think the ways in which they have taken these concepts from League of Legends. I think one of my favorites is actually Yasuo's Wind Wall, which in League of Legends blocks projectiles. In this game, it blocks projectiles, and that's a very straightforward thing, but seeing those concepts recontextualized in a fighting game and what it means for that design space and that strategy space is really, really cool. It still feels a little rough at parts, especially like super animations. The one for Vi, which Vi is also one of the newer characters that's in the game. Her level 3 super was kind of getting some jokes about it because she's kind of just punching somebody that's off screen and you don't really like see stuff involved. It could use a little bit more just panache, a little bit more like zhuzhing up of some of the animations and stuff. I think that is happening over time because I've already seen some of those animations get better over time and more character be added to these characters over time. So I kind of expect that to change as time goes on. But I think the one part that you can really tell it's still closed beta is a lot of the infrastructure around the fighting game. So there's a lobby system that's very much like the Arc System Works style lobby system of you have your little avatar and you walk in and everybody's playing at stations and you go sit on the couch and that's how you ready up. And I've never really, I know some people hate those. I like them. I think they're fine. I don't say I love them, but they work, they function, they're kind of goofy and fun. But there's some menus and some user interfaces and just pieces of locking in and playing a game that still feel kind of funky and like they're still kind of being put together. And I hope that improves because once you're in the game and playing, it's a really enjoyable fighting game that I think does feel more approachable than I would have expected, especially a tag fighter to feel. Because if you're talking about games that feel approachable, Street Fighter is kind of middle of the ground. I think Street Fighter is easy for people to pick up because they've probably played it before, but you can feel a skill differential between yourself and a good Street Fighter player very fast. This has got me in trouble before. This has got me in hot water, but I'll put it on the pod. I think Tekken's really easy for anybody to pick up and play.
No, I agree with that.
There is a much higher skill ceiling. I always have to say, Tekken is also a very difficult game to get very good at. And I think the skill differential is much higher there. But for somebody to just pick up and play a game, Tekken and Soul Calibur have always been kind of my ones that I go to of, if somebody doesn't really play fighting games, they're still going to have a good time playing it because it's a very understandable.
I played a lot of Soul Calibur growing up. And had a great time. Even though I wasn't playing. I played Tekkens at arcades and stuff, but I was never any good. But
I would agree with
Soul
that.
Calibur was like,
yeah.
Soul Calibur was always like, I know my combos.
Those
I got into. I got into hot water because I said the normies love Tekken, and I'd stand by that. But apparently that's a.
But the experts love Tekken as well.
Yeah. Everybody loves Tekken.
Literally, I walked out of a Tekken 8 event with Justin Wong, so it's like that the aficionados love it as well.
Everybody loves Tekken. You beat Tekken.
I did not beat Justin Wong.
Okay. So there's that. And I would say on the opposite end of the spectrum, tag fighters have a very high level of entry and a very high level of skill where I think no matter what, you're dealing with so many factors. Dragon Ball FighterZ I think was maybe the closest we got to it feeling a little bit more approachable for new players. But Marvel vs. Capcom is a lot for anybody to handle, and you can kind of button mash and have some fun, but the second you start playing anybody who kind of knows what they're doing, you can get overwhelmed by what is happening on the screen.
If you play someone that knows how to tag reliably, you are screwed, which is always I've always found out to be the biggest barrier for new people in tags. Like, how do I tag? Like, what is the tag button?
If they're throwing in hyper combos and they got Cable ripping a Viper beam from across the screen to check your jump and things like that, like that's a different world, man. That's you're entering into the zone of tag fighters, and I'm really impressed by what 2XKO does to lower that barrier of entry. Now, of course, that's going to come with some controversy of, is it courting casuals too much? Is it too casual of a game? I think this discussion happens around every single fighting game that has ever come out in the history of ever. Is a game comes out, it does a few things to try and say, hey, let's make it easier for new players to
we added
grapple
a simpler control scheme that you can choose from, and people get unreasonably upset about that.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I love the simple control schemes in both Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8. Like, I think they did a great job of that, and I'm somebody who's been playing Street Fighter since Street Fighter 2 and Tekken since Tekken 3, and it's like, I think these are great. I think allowing more people to play a game is awesome. Like, whether it's like, if you want to play Persona 5 on easy, I think that's cool because you're still just enjoying a game. Like, I don't think we need to gatekeep.
And the interesting thing is, there was a belief that was going to change the way that Street Fighter was played. And there was, I think it was EVO 2 years ago, a Street Fighter 6 player who used Chun-Li specifically on simple inputs because of the way in which it simplified some of the combo routing there. But broadly, it's still kind of the same character. I think other things like the introduction of hitboxes or leverless fight pads have done more to shift the talk about how a fighting game is played than any sort of input system on the software side. I know this is getting crazy technical, I'm sorry, but I always say I wait for the tournaments. I wait for when Combo Breaker comes around, when Evo comes around, when CEO comes around. I watch what players do there because that gives me an idea of what is the upper limit, what is the upper potential of this game. And sometimes like games do sink or swim at that moment. You know, there have been a lot of games that have come out that have been pretty solid, interesting fighting games, and then the competitive scene doesn't really latch on, and they just kind of don't really go anywhere. That happens sometimes, but I'm interested to see what happens there with 2XKO, but I think for a casual standpoint, which I do think is what Riot is going for, because you have to keep in mind that Riot is not just trying to make a fighting game for fighting game players. They absolutely are, and they've got a lot of people on staff who are doing that. They're also trying to get some League of Legends players in the door. They're trying to get some Arcane watchers in the door. They're trying to get people who enjoy this IP but don't want to engage with it in a MOBA to engage with the IP. I think it's a smart play from them, and I think there's some really good foundational work done here to build that up. And yeah, I find it a really, really interesting, fun game that I've run sets and had a good time doing it. I need to get back to it at some point, but it's in kind of a strange place because of the closed beta situation. You have to find people like, okay, are you in the closed beta? I'm in the closed beta. Okay, let's meet up, make a lobby, all that kind of stuff. But I do find it really interesting, really compelling, and they need to add more of my favorite League characters so I can play as them, because there's a few. I like Vi. Vi's really fun. Vi basically
give me Cho'Gath.
Yeah, give me Cho'Gath. I'm gonna need.
Give me Ornn.
I need Shyvana in there, and I need to be able to turn into a dragon for my ultimate. That'd be pretty sick.
What's the short little furry
Teemo? Yeah,
Teemo. Is he? Yeah. Would he? I guess he wouldn't fit. He's too short, probably, right? Like
you can do that.
Hitbox would be a problem.
You got Servbot in Marvel vs. Capcom. You can absolutely do Teemo.
Oh yeah, make him the Servbot.
Yeah, make him the Servbot, so you can just kill him in a one-touch situation.
Well, I mean, unless you're good with Servbot, excuse me,
I mean, there are some people good with Servbot. I won't discount that, but Teemo. I would be surprised if Teemo doesn't appear at some point, just because there's always the room for some quote unquote joke characters, and I could see them doing some cool stuff with him. But I think
who's the Dan of League of Legends?
Who's the Dan of League of Legends?
Hibiki of League of
Legends. I don't. That's a really Van Aken. Are you thinking of anybody off the top of your head? Like who's the goofy joke?
Who's wearing
character?
a pink gi?
I feel like Shaco might be that character. Shaco. There's an old adage about Shaco, who is a clown prince jester in League of Legends.
Shaco could be good.
The Shaco on your team is always going to feed and flame everybody in the chat and do terribly. And the Shaco on the enemy team is going to terrorize you and end the game at 20 minutes, because that's just the paradigm of Shacos. The same with Trindamirs, the same with Mordekaisers. Mordekaiser would be the most insanely toxic character they could add to that game.
There's a cool character in League called Gnar. And
Gnar is sick.
Gnar is like a little guy, and he has a little boomerang. But when he gets enough, when his rage meter fills up, he transforms into this giant beast and starts bullying people. But at the start, his first form is just a little guy with a boomerang.
He's just a little guy. He's a little guy.
But if you let him transform, then it's oh, we're in trouble. That could be a cool mechanic. There's a guy named Kled who rides a he's
a Chocobo Knight, essentially.
Chocobo Knight, yeah. There's some cool things they could definitely pull from.
If you told me all these names were completely made up, I would never know.
Have you?
That's fair.
What League of Legends media have you engaged with, Brian Shea?
2XKO playing for 20 minutes at Riot headquarters.
Have you watched hit animated series Arcane yet? Because I guarantee
I guarantee you that there is too much media to consume in the year 2025 that I will never catch up to my list of stuff that I want to watch.
Season 1 of Arcane is worth a watch. I will say that. Season 2, jury, I feel, is still roiling on that one. I had a good time watching it, but I would not be surprised if most of their early editions go that way, just because it was incredibly popular. I mean, people who don't play League of Legends watched Arcane and fell in love with the characters.
My mom watched
Jinx
Arcane.
and all that. Yeah. And so
I imagine we'll get Jace at some point.
Jace, I think, Victor. I would love Heimerdinger. I think Heimerdinger would be a really fun character. He's got to have the banjo. He's got to play a little tune, play a little ditty.
You guys are just saying words now.
Exactly.
These are all AI generated names. I can tell.
Yeah. I'm actually AI generated.
You
this is all
told
made.
ChatGPT.
What I say at the start of the show. What I say.
One of us on this podcast is an AI. Find out
the
which
whole
one
time.
by the end. Yeah.
Pudinku is going to be in there real high.
Well, I know, Shay, you have to head out. You've got a hard out here in a couple minutes. So we just want to say thanks for joining us this week. Of course, if you want to follow Brian online, you can follow him at Brian P. Shay on Instagram and Blue Sky. And Shay, we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I'll see you guys hopefully in a new episode very soon.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
All right. See ya.
All right. Nobody stop.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Game Informer Show. We're going to close it out with Marcus telling us all about Herdling, which is a cool game that I actually played it, I think, last year at PAX West. And I think it was when they were first showing it off. And it seemed cool at the time, but I haven't really kept up with it, Marcus. Can you kind of give us the rundown on what it is and how far you are, what you're thinking, all that?
Yeah, well, it's a tale as old as time. It's about a boy and his calicorns. We've all been there. Yes, more than one of them, it turns out.
I have good memories being on the calicorns farm.
Yeah.
Farm as a kid.
Home on the range where the deer and the calicorn play.
Yeah, you know the ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is this is the new game from Okamotive, who is the developer of the, what do we call it? The Far series, Far Lone Sails, and Far Changing Tides. Where you were piloting a big old complicated ship over a desert, which I like those games quite a bit. So I was really interested in this because this is completely different than those two games. So the setup is strange because it really just kind of gets going with little to no context, where you play as a boy in a city, which I was not expecting. Just watching all the trailers, you just see kind of like, big majestic landscapes, forests, and then mountains and stuff. But it starts in this like dingy city, and you wake up as this kid in a hoodie, and immediately, there's no dialogue, but he finds this like a stick and is exploring a city, and he finds one of these giant sort of like, they kind of look like yaks or wildebeest, like a weird kind of like fantasy take on them, and they're called calicorns. He finds one in the city, immediately tames it, and just starts ordering it around, and he makes his way out of his city into the big open world, and ostensibly the goal is to get not only this calicorn, but other calicorn that you find along the way to the summit of a mountain off in the distance. It's strange. I don't know why why this kid is taking upon himself to do this.
It's messed up because he does this and it becomes a video game, but I try to tame an animal and suddenly I'm banned from the San Diego Zoo, and I just think that's wrong. Apparently I'm not allowed to take the animals out.
Well, did you have a big stick? Because that seems to be like a symbol of authority. So I think if you had the shepherd stick, they'd be like, "Oh, we know what this guy is doing."
Is it a big shepherd cane like what you would hook people off a stage with if they're telling bad jokes?
Well, maybe not like a candy cane shape, but it is like a big old stick that it's glowy. It's got a little bit of a glow to it.
The glow does help for establishing authority. Yeah.
And so the game it's pretty simple so far, but it's kind of like it's challenging in its simplicity, I guess. So you're finding these calicorn along the way, and the way that you guide them, it's very like there's a cursor that you're kind of moving, and the closest comparison I can think of is maybe Pikmin. But it's not as precise as Pikmin, which is actually one of my kind of issues with the games, is kind of steering these things is tough, because basically like it's in front of you, like they tell you like you want to stand behind your herd, and you see the cursor in front of you, but it moves in the opposite direction that you are aiming it. So if you are aiming left, the cursor's going to go right, and so is your herd. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's almost like,
I think so, yeah.
Horizontally inverted a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and combining that with like swinging the camera around so that you kind of keep not only yourself in view, but kind of the cursor to make sure you're not guiding them into hazards, because the calicorns get hurt. I don't know if they can die. I have not lost one yet. I have 5 currently, but yeah, like it's like a lot of the challenge is trying to just kind of keep everyone oriented the way you want to go. I'm almost embarrassed to even admit how long it took me to get the first calicorn out of the little area you found him and down an alleyway, because of how like I just thought like, oh, it's like Pikmin, like wherever I point is where it's going to go. But then he was going every which way. And I'm like, wait, how does this targeting system work exactly? It seems like
it was giving some Cuphead tutorial vibes.
Okay.
Listen, we can joke about it.
Listen, if this game is on Game Pass, you download it and you see how long it takes you to get that first calicorn out of there.
Calicorn challenge.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I have a better handle on it now, but I do wish it was maybe more straightforward. I don't know if the way the control scheme works now really serves anything other than maybe be a little more complicated than I think it needs to be.
Sure, yeah.
But eventually, yeah, you get used to it. You can and you can command them to stop. You can make them move at like a brisk pace. You can have them slow down. You can like along the way you can have them eat this fruit or run through these special flowers that basically give them speed boost that you can just kind of spam. It almost feels like literally you can collect them to where it feels like hitting the mushroom power up in Mario Kart, where you're just like, all right, I'm just gonna boom boom boom, and they're just like flying. Which when you get to a big open field in the game, like you're gonna go have a good time when you get to a big open segment and there's like flower patches in the distance, and you're like, oh, we're just meant to just sprint through this, and you're just like flying down this majestic hill, and the music starts to swell, and you're like, yeah. And also because it's wide open, it's less difficult or it's easier to not have them running into something. It's I'm enjoying it so far. I'm not loving it as much as I did the Far games. Again, very different games, but there is something like relaxing about it once you wrap your head around the controls. Like initially I was frustrated with it in a way that was disappointing. So I was like, oh, this seems like something I would be into, but I just wish this controlled better. But once I kind of got my head around it, it is fun to just sort of like explore and just sort of, I don't know, just kind of chill out with these weird yaks. Like you're not really doing anything super crazy. Like some of the obstacles have been as simple as like, oh, there's like this door that I need to find a way to get around. Like you can separate yourself from the herd and go explore on your own, like, which has generally been as simple as like, oh, I need to climb up this thing and maybe jump across this gap and then open this door so that they can come through. Or I need to push a box so I can climb it or to fill a gap. And sometimes the calicorns can help with that because it's too heavy for you. Where I'm at in the game, which is probably the halfway point, because from what I understand, the game isn't very long. I think I've seen people say it clocks around like 4 hours-ish.
Okay.
Like, I have not finished it, but I've gotten to the point where they introduced like an actual enemy. Like, it was like this like hawk, this big old... It kind of reminded me of the owl from the Ori games a little bit.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, that you're going through an area where it's kind of stealth, where it's like you're in its domain, and you're very carefully trying to guide your herd and not have any of them knock over these like rock pillars that's gonna alert the owl, and then it's gonna come swoop down and start swiping at your herd, and they can get like bloody and stuff. Again, I have not lost anyone yet, so I don't know if any of them can die. I assume they can, Mainly because there's an accessibility option to make them invincible if you want. Yeah, so I was like, I assume they can die. But so far, all 5 of them are intact.
Are you naming these? Are they
so
named
you
at all?
can name them. When you tame a new one, you get the option, like a little...
Don't name them. That's going to make it worse when they die.
I don't know if you... I think you have to name them. So I've named all 5 of mine so far. Just
what are the names?
Well, the first one, because he's like the biggest one in the party so far. And I was like, oh, he kind of looks like a yak. And then immediately I was like, well, you're going to be Yakko. And then because of that, the subsequent
Wacko,
2 have to be Wacko
Dot.
and Dot, which it worked out serendipitously because they decreased in height as they went. So the middle tallest is Wacko and the smallest is Dot. So I like to think the game was accommodating in that sense. My next one kind of had he's like extra shaggy. He had kind of like a shaggy dog vibe to him, but he kind of made him look older. So I named him Gramps. And then there was one after him. His horns were twisted in a way. There's no real reasoning for this one. Just for whatever reason, I saw his horns and I was like, you're a herald. You're going to be Harold. And
I like that.
I think the most recent one I rescued. He was falling from a cliff and I had just gotten there in time and pulled him over the edge. I don't know if I could have failed that, if he could have just gone over. Because I got an achievement for doing it. But I was like, man, you almost went over that cliff. You're going to be Cliffy. I like naming...
What? No. You can't pick oh, you almost got hit by that car. I'm going to call you Vroom.
I'm going to call you Car.
I like naming people after their near-death experiences. It's like, this is your personality trait, is how you almost die.
I always name mine after my animals, and so it's probably not a good game to do that with, in case they do get eaten.
Yeah, well, you can name your favorite ones. You can play favorites, especially because you can decorate your calicorns. Along the way, you can find these ornaments that you can hang on their horns, and you can put one on each horn. Or if you really like them, like Yakko, who I've decided, he's like, okay, you're like my pack leader because you're the tallest and you're my first. So you're going to get 2 on your horn. So he's the only one that is dual rocking these almost like Christmas ornament looking things. One of Dot has a harness, I believe they call it. It's it just covers all of her horns and it light up. So just little lights. So everyone looks pretty. I think everyone has an ornament now. So it might get to the point where more than one of them are going to have double horns or double ornaments. But yeah, you can decorate them, name them. You can pet them, of course. You can stop and give them pets, and you can clean them off when they get dirty. There's times you kind of have to plow through shrubs and they get branches on them. Or if they get hurt, they get covered in blood and you can kind of I guess rub
Is
the
this
blood
like
away.
a DS game where I'm using my stylus to kind of wipe away the dirt?
No, you're just holding the Y button until a meter fills, and then they're good to go. But they also have personality traits. If you look in your menu, some of them don't have anything, but I have 2 that have other like one of them is affectionate, and then the other is I forget what it is. It's something mischief, I don't know what the exact word they use, but it's basically this is the mischievous one. And I haven't seen these traits translate into gameplay. I was like, oh, is the mischievous one, is he gonna wander from the pack a lot? Is he gonna get into trouble or something? And I haven't. Yeah, I was like, what is that gonna mean anything? I haven't noticed anything dramatically different about them, so I don't know if that's something that comes later or if it's even something I wonder how much petting them matters. Are they gonna play favorites? Can I bond more with some of them than the others because I didn't pet them enough? I kind of make a habit, not only in this game but in other games, where you have a constant companion that you can pet, that I usually pet them after we got through some rough patch. Oh, that was a rough sequence there. All right, good job, everybody. Everybody gets a pet. And I don't know. I feel bad when I go long links without petting a companion.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like, oh,
you have a heart.
Yeah, it's if this was my dog, I would pet them. Regularly.
I would do the same thing with my Fallout 4 companions,
You pet them?
You would pet
Nick,
them?
You pet
Nick,
pet Nick Valentine, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would pet him. He's great. Yeah. And he's a robot, so I don't know if it's not as weird, right?
Anyways.
But yeah, it's like I said, it's not the most complicated game. Again, the challenge is just trying to navigate the weird steering system and keep your calicos from running into spikes or off of cliffs and stuff like that. And just enjoying the scenery along the way. I don't like the story is pretty minimal. It seems to just be like, for whatever reason, just get to the top of this mountain. Don't know why. But it's almost kind of like similar to, like, I guess, like Far Lone Sails. Like, it's kind of almost feels like it's more about the journey than what you're trying to get to. Yeah. But I'm enjoying it. It's like if nothing else, it's kind of like a nice little chill pill game in between the big review game I'm currently playing.
Nice. Well, cool. Well, that's Herdling. If you were trying to remember which game we're talking about, folks.
I'll give an update next week on how many of my calicorns actually survived the journey.
Okay, and I hope for all of our sakes they are all remaining at that point.
Yeah, we have a terribly somber update.
I've become very attached
guys,
to Cliffy.
I got some bad news, guys.
Yeah. I hope Cliffy and Yakko are doing okay. Take care of them. Well, that's the show for this week, everybody. Make sure to follow the guys here on social media. You can follow Eric at CMoosie. That's SEAMOOSI. You can follow Marcus at Marcus Stewart 7. And you can follow me at It's Van Aken. Don't forget to follow Shay at Brian P. Shay. And follow Game Informer wherever you're on social media. It's a great way to keep up with what we've got going on and what's happening in the world of magazines. That's going to do it for the show this week. Don't forget, head over to GameInformer.com/subscribe. Pick up a print or a digital magazine subscription. That's the best way to help us keep the lights on. And we'll see you next week. Goodbye, everybody.